Hello. Oh, let me take this down. Just one second. There you go. Welcome to the Power of Stories. And we're broadcasting to Sam's fans on Facebook and YouTube. So if you're joining us and wherever you are, welcome. As you come in, make sure you say hi so that we know who's watching. Otherwise, we cannot see your name. So we would love to see who is joining us today. Today, as the past two Thursdays, I'm excited to continue with this series entitled "The Power of Stories." The Power of Stories is a series of live-streamed interviews in which I will be chatting with the therapists from the partner institutions that Sam's Fans supports. Particularly, we will talk about their stories and the stories that have influenced them and impacted them. Joining me today is music therapist Jessica Bogacik. I should have asked the last name, how to say that, but she is a board certified music therapist, and I'm sure you've seen her in previous videos and photos of Sam's Fans. She works on nationwide children's hospitals, home-based hospice, and palliative care team. Jessica received her Master's of Science in Music Therapy from Radford University and completed her clinical internship at Cleveland's University Hospital's Case Medical Center. She has participated in research using music therapy interventions with critically ill patients and with hospitalized patients demonstrating depressive symptoms. Her clinical experience is extensive and has worked at Nationwide Children's Hospital since August 2015. So let's welcome Jessica here in a second. Let's see. Jessica, are you with us? Hi.
I think we're having a little bit of hiccups today.
Yeah, probably the internet being a bit slow. But how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm sorry, I should know how to say your last name by now, but how do you say it?
Oh, you got it. You got it right.
Okay, great.
Yeah, good job.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. So, before we jump in, obviously people know you from past videos, and we've done interviews on Facebook Live, and there's a lot of stuff that you have helped us with. So, I'm curious first, before we get started, if you can tell us a bit about the last year, what you've been up to, how your work at Nationwide Children's Hospital has developed recently. Yeah, what do you think?
It's been a really long year I'm sure for everybody. We locked down last March, and the palliative care team, which we do home-based visits, we weren't allowed to do home-based visits for a while. So we were all just kind of sitting around for a little bit, about a month, I think, where we couldn't do visits and telehealth hadn't become a thing yet. So then telehealth became an option in the spring of last year, and we did that for a few months, and that was really great. And I've written about that. You guys have read about that. And it just really offered an opportunity for us to still see our patients, even though we couldn't be there in person. And it wasn't perfect, but it was amazing. It was really an amazing feat that they pulled it off in such a quick time frame.
Yeah.
And then in about, I think, July or August of last year, we were able to go back in the homes, and we're being really careful with the masks, and we've got our goggles and our masks and lots of PPE and lots of cleaning of instruments. So we're being really, really careful. But it's kind of just basically back to normal now, but in the patients' homes. There's a few who are still not super excited about home visits, so we're still doing a couple of telehealth visits, but for the most part, we're back to normal, which is really cool. And then for me, my latest development is at the beginning of 2021. So the beginning of January, I was able to increase my hours at Nationwide Children's Hospital. So I went from 2.5 days a week to 4 full days a week, which is really great. So I've been able to increase my caseload. I'm seeing more patients, probably about like a 40% increase in patient visits. And that's really exciting because I have a wait list. So I've been able to take some people off of the wait list and meet some new folks and get music therapy out into more homes.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, it's really exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, music therapy keeps expanding across Ohio, across the US. I know that obviously there were a lot of challenges in the past year with music therapy and the pandemic, and a lot of music therapists had to pivot. But I'm glad that in the midst of all of this, that there are people, who are expanding the hours that they're doing rather than reducing them. So that's great.
I know. I feel really fortunate that that was my experience during this time, definitely.
Yeah. We have Lisa joining us. Hello, Lisa. I think you've watched a few of these live streams, so always happy to have regular people joining us. So let me put back a little message. Let's see. So, we're with this series, we're talking about stories, and I think maybe you mentioned this in a previous stream that we did, but do you mind telling us a bit more about your story today and how you got started with music therapy?
Sure. I guess my story starts as a really young child. From as long as I can remember, I was involved in music. My parents loved music and listened to it all the time, so I think it was just kind of around a lot. Neither of them are musicians, but they just love it. And so from as long as I can remember, I was involved in choir and band and orchestra. And so I decided to go into music performance when I went to college. And it was during my or groups of people who weren't generally able to come to see our concerts. So nursing homes, there's a school for the blind, day homes for adults with developmental disabilities. And we went out to these places and performed for them. And it was then that I felt that initial spark. Something about these performances felt different to me than all of the other performances I had ever done. And as I was thinking about it and learning more about what music therapy was, I realized that music therapy, and I've come to realize more, that music therapy is a way for me to be a musician, and realizing that music can be about more than just performing, more than just about getting it right or perfecting a passage, a musical passage. And to help people. And that's kind of where I am now. And that's kind of what I've realized over the years. And so after finishing my performance degree, I went on to get my master's equivalency in music therapy. And it took me a while to kind of find my niche, what population I like to work with in music therapy. But I really believe that pediatric palliative care and hospice is just where I need to be and where I want to be. So that's where I am now. And I've been in this population, working with this population for 5.5 years at Nationwide Children's. And it's just, it just amazes me every day, these people that I work with. So it's perfect for me. Mm-hmm.
Wonderful. And was it, I know that Sam's Fans first started supporting Nationwide Children's. I think that was our first partner institution. Was that you at the beginning, or? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it
Great.
was. I just
Sorry, it seems like we're having a bit of technical difficulties with me.
Week. So it's been growing every couple of years.
Gotcha. For our audience, I'm wondering, because I'm seeing you, Jessica, a bit, you're freezing a little bit. For anybody watching, let us know how it looks for you. If you can hear us both, then that's great. So, well, great. So, yeah, we were talking about your Nationwide Children's, and you've done so much wonderful work there. And you've been very gracious in sharing about your work with SAMS fans. You have allowed us and our supporters to really see and experience what it is like to participate in music therapy, and how this work really has an impact on the people that you serve. And that's, that really means a lot to us, for us as a team at SAMS fans, but also to our supporters. That being said, I'm curious, what's your take on this idea of stories? Something that we've been talking about with my other guests is like, we're, as a therapist, we're keeping good care of ethics, and we want to make sure that if we're sharing a story of a patient, that we have all appropriate consents. And so that's something that we're always doing as SAMS fans. But I'm curious about your take on when you're talking to non-music therapists and you're advocating for the field, how do you manage that idea of like, okay, we want to tell them a bit about what it is with the research and the specifics, but how do you incorporate stories into that? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you could talk all day about the clinical piece of music therapy and using terminology and jargon, but stories are what impact people, and stories are where people can relate to somebody else's experience, and then they can in turn empathize and turn their emotions onto the story and think, how would I react if this was me? It's like when you watch a movie, you can become engrossed with the emotion and the storyline. It's just much more impactful.
Yeah, for sure. And so I think at this point, I don't know if perhaps we can jump. I know that you did something a bit different than the previous guests I had for the Power of Stories, where you actually wrote something down. You looked back at your clinical experience and you wrote sort of a fictional story that combines elements from your experience as a therapist. So I don't know if you have anything to say before jumping into the actual story of what your process was like and what you were thinking about with this.
Mm-hmm. I did want to tell a little bit of a story about during my internship. When I was in my internship in a medical institution for adults, it was a hospital for adults, and I was working with medically hospitals in addition to whatever medical condition they were experiencing. And my project was, I offered to each of these patients a variety of interventions like songwriting, lyric analysis, singing, playing instruments, things like that. I offered them a choice. And I had a certain expectation of what was going to happen. But what I found was that the majority of these adult patients chose songwriting, which really surprised me. But then when I was kind of processing through this project and thinking and, writing it in my paper, I realized everybody has a story to tell. We all have a story to tell. And especially in medical environments, I think that people don't often get to tell their story to somebody that listens. And when I came in with my guitar and said, tell me your story, let's make music out of it, I think people took that as a really great opportunity that they never were given before. So I think that there's there is a great importance in being offered an opportunity to tell one's story, and music can really do that. Music can really allow people to tell their story, and so that really shaped kind of how I see music being used as a tool with people. That really impacted me a lot. So
I really like that. Yeah, I think that music therapy and music in general gives that opportunity for people to tell their story when maybe they don't have that opportunity otherwise. And sometimes that is even not just with words, like what we would traditionally think of as story, but there are also stories that develop non-verbally and through improvisation, and they can even bring up other facets of that story, right, that are not so explicit in the text. So I think that that's a good point. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I like your point too about improvisation and just having music be the story. It doesn't even have to have words. It can just be music. That too is really cool to think about.
Yeah, great. So is it a story time? Do you want to share the story you have for us? Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
So I'm gonna read it to you all. I didn't have a specific family that I had permission from to tell their specific story and details. So I decided to just kind of clump everything together from the work that I've done and kind of create a story. So I'm going to give you the background of this family, this fictional family, and then talk a little bit about music therapy with them. So collecting baby clothes and tiny socks and making registries. They're dreaming big about growing their family.
Jessica, sorry to interrupt. I think we might have missed the very beginning of the story. It froze a little bit, but
Sure.
Can you start? Thank you.
Sure. Meredith and Jack are a young and energetic couple with a son, Nicholas. They're newly expecting their second child, and they are thrilled. They start thinking of names, collecting baby clothes and tiny socks, and making registries. They are dreaming big about growing their family. At a routine ultrasound, Meredith and Jack could tell something wasn't quite right when the technician got very quiet, studying the screen intently. The doctor came in and pulled up a chair to talk to them. Way appears to have heart defects, and further genetic testing just came back revealing some other problems too. The prognosis is really unknown, but the baby's lifespan will definitely be limited and marked by many challenges. It took Meredith and Jack quite some time to comprehend the news and process how their dreams of growing their family suddenly looked very different. When the baby's born, they name her Hope. But Hope needs to spend some time in the NICU to get stronger before she can come home. Meredith and Jack take turns at the hospital, spending every moment at their daughter's side. They're weary. They stare at her tiny body, barely able to see her through all the tubes and wires. Some days, Meredith thinks, this can't be real, can it? At home, Nicholas is excited to meet his new baby sister, and he's been prepared that she would have lots of tubes and would look different from other babies, but he's scared when he meets her, and he doesn't want to touch her. Meredith and Jack are happy to have Hope home, but feeling the pressure to do all of the medical treatments and medications she needs. Her nursery starts to look like a tiny clinic full of medical supplies, oxygen tanks, suction devices, and so many orange bottles of medications. As time goes on, thanks to the amazing advances of modern medicine, and Hope, they want to get some nursing care in their home to help out, but the local nursing agencies are understaffed. They did have a nurse for a little while, but she quit after 3 weeks. The agency said they'd call back when they have more candidates, but no word yet. So day after day, they hook up Hope to her feeding tube, suction her mouth and nose so she can breathe well. They do breathing treatments, treat her seizures, give her medications, monitor her oxygen levels. Meredith starts to feel as if she should have an honorary nursing degree with the amount of medical knowledge she's gained through this experience. She hates it, but it's a necessity. Hope has many, many appointments: physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, cardiology, pulmonology, neurology, ENT, and so on. They are down the days to each one. When the music therapist comes to see Hope, it's like a bright light on a gray day. She comes to their home, first of all, which is awesome because they don't have to pack up all of Hope's equipment for the appointment. The music therapist brings a guitar and a bag full of instruments and always seems so thrilled to see her. It's like Hope is her favorite patient. Meredith and Jack watch as the music therapist interacts with Hope. Sometimes they get to play too. Meredith really likes to hold Hope and bounce her or tickle her tummy and her toes. They sing their favorite songs, play instruments, smile, laugh. Hope is very motivated by the music and loves to reach out for instruments to play. Meredith and Jack have seen she does in any of her other therapies. It's as if there's something in the music that's reaching Hope on a different level. Hope likes to kick the tambourine excitedly, showing off her growing leg strength. She can even hold a maraca and shake it. The music therapist did a recording of Hope's heartbeat and set it to music, Meredith and Jack's favorite lullaby. They treasure this recording because it's the sound of Hope's heart, which they know will not beat for nearly as long as they would like. But even after it has stopped beating, they will always have this recording to listen to when they're missing her. It's during these 45 minutes every 2 weeks that Meredith and Jack get to see another adult looking at their daughter as a child, a human, not a set of symptoms or a disease that needs to be treated. The music therapist sees their child for who she is and does not try to change her. The music meets Hope wherever she is on that day. There was one day where Hope was in pain, and the music therapist didn't even bring out any instruments, just her guitar, and played quiet music while These visits give Meredith and Jack a chance to play with their daughter, something they never get to do. Sometimes Nicholas is even home from school during the music therapist visits, and he is so excited when she rings the doorbell. He greets her at the door and immediately starts rummaging through her instrument bag. His favorite is the quack stick, and he shakes it excitedly. Family is having a rhythm. This family's rhythm was fast, upbeat, excited when a huge challenge came up and slowed everything down. The family's music became ominous, slow, unsettled. After some time, a steady rhythm developed, but it was still slow with lots of fits and starts. The rhythm picked up again with the sound of Hope's heartbeat, her smiles, and Nicholas singing to her. Meredith, Jack, Nicholas, and Hope carried on with this rhythm of life for several years until Hope's heart finally gave its last beat. But the rhythm of her life continued forever, the memories they made along the way.
Thank you, Jessica. That was a wonderful story.
Thanks.
And it's technology really sometimes it disappoints in the worst moments, because I think some parts of the story were missing. if you were watching, I would love to hear from our audience how much they caught. But for me, I mean, even with those little pauses in between, I think I had some goosebumps at some point, and I think it was great how the story really laid out the whole process of this family, um, and the how music therapy came into the picture, and it really it moved me, even though I'm a music therapist, so I know sort of what happens a little bit, but the way that you told it and what you included in the story was really it was an inspiring story. So I thank you for that.
Yeah, I really wanted entered the story, and then how each person in the family was touched by the music therapy interventions.
Mm-hmm.
Because I, especially in palliative care, we are family centered. And so we're addressing the needs of the whole family because they are a unit, and addressing the quality of life of the patient involves addressing the quality of life of the whole family, the family as a whole. And so I really wanted to make sure that I, pointed out, and I've come to realize recently that, I think earlier in my career, I really felt like all of my sessions had to be just like groundbreaking, and music has such potential to help people achieve amazing things. Truly, it does. People can recover from accidents and surgeries and learn how to walk and talk and just really do amazing things with the help of music. But I have come to realize and settled in like a more gray area where if I am in a visit and I leave that visit knowing that what music did was bring joy and connection and togetherness in that family, then to me, that is the therapy. That is it. I brought that to the whole family. Having a mom just stand behind my shoulder while I play for her daughter, and tearful because somebody's taking the time to like spend time with her daughter. Just seeing the way the parents their stress can melt as they see their child experiencing joy, and they see the way another adult can see their child as a human. That is really impactful.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And it does seem like there were some glitches. So I'm now thinking that if we can maybe have a recording of you telling the story and share that, so that people really can listen to the whole story, that would be really wonderful. I don't know if you would be open to do something like that.
Do what now?
To have the story like recorded, so you can actually record the audio or a video and then sharing that directly. Right. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
It's still freezing here. There's some glitches, but maybe we'll try that. Yeah.
I can definitely do that.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I mean, and I can only imagine that what you told us, it's only kind of one. It's fictional, but like it represents so much. But at the same time, there is so much more that is not included into this story. Other patients and what their process through music therapy and with music therapy, it can be so diverse. So that's kind of why we're doing this series, to hear from music therapists and art therapists and the stories they want to share with us, to really see how diverse it can be, but also how impactful it can be for patients and their families, like you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
So great. I'm gonna share this link to we have this page for this series. So what we can do actually is that if you send us the either audio recording or a video recording of the story, we can upload that to our page so that people can go back and listen to the story. Yeah, it's been so wonderful to chat, even with a bit of technical difficulties, but it's still, it goes to show how impactful what you're doing is, because even with those glitches, we could tell the love behind it, the passion behind it, the expertise behind it. So thank you so much for that.
Thanks, Samuel.
Wonderful. So what else is left to say? We'll continue with this series. If you're watching, you still can ask a question or make a comment here in the last minutes. Next week we'll have, let me see if I can remember. I think it's from Akron Children's Hospital. We'll have an art therapist. So we've had a music therapist and an art therapist. Now you music therapist, now an art therapist. So we're keeping it diverse. Julia said that she thanks you even with the glitches. It was good to hear from you. Anything else you want to say, Jessica?
Oh, there you are. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay. What did you say?
Anything else you want to say to finish?
No, I think that covered it. I'm really grateful for this series that you're doing. I think the stories are really impactful, like I said, and it's a really cool idea.
Yeah, awesome. All right,
Yeah.
so we'll stay in touch. If you're watching, thank you for joining us. Check out our website. Check out some of the upcoming live streams. We'll be sharing those on Facebook and YouTube, so you have your options. And I hope you can also consider making a donation to keep Sam's Friends going, so that we can keep supporting music and art therapists, and so that these stories can continue to grow and multiply, and we can continue to reach more children and families. So thank you, Jessica. Thank you, Sam's Fans. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks.
Right? Bye.